Well, hello, and a very warm welcome back to another week on the allotment. 2 weeks since I posted. Unexpectedly, we had a very nice weekend last weekend with my daughter and son-in-law and little George, so I didn't post, didn't go up the allotment. But that doesn't mean there's not been lots going on. It's a really important time of year. If you've got an allotment or a kitchen garden, or even just a garden, you'll know everything's taken off. So it's exciting. This week is the 5-month point from when our sold sign went up on the house, and we're still no closer, still more delays. The solicitor looking after the house we're trying to buy, she's asking more inquiries. 5 months. I don't like to sound negative, but I've sort of made a switch in my mind, because I've got tomatoes that are 10, 12 inches high now, and I'm thinking, what do I do with them? We were meant to be in by now. So I've decided that I'm going to give it another 2 weeks, and if still we've got no news at all, then I'm planting up the greenhouse in the back garden and damn, whatever the consequences, because I've got to make a decision. Here on the plot, lots going in the ground. I'm moving it up from the greenhouse. Lots of the brassicas are already in. I'll show you around in a moment. So yeah, it's all very negative on the house front, but it's all very positive on the allotment. Thank goodness for allotments, eh? So I think what we'll do as the sun comes up on this beautiful Sunday morning, we'll have a look around at the good, the bad, and the somewhat ugly. Well, as is customary, we'll start at the bottom. And the reason I go this way is because the sun's behind me. And as it's coming up, you wouldn't be able to film the other way. There's too much of a glare. Anyway, these are a main crop potato called Java. Took over from Sapo Mira, blight resistant. So here's hoping. Another bed of these are Charlottes and rocket salad potatoes, and this is part of the ugly. You can see the potatoes coming up, but there's a lot of weeds, and I've deliberately left it. It was a conscious decision, because I thought once they've grown up 6 or 7 inches, I will earth them up, and when I earth them up, these weeds will get incorporated into it. So there's no point in wasting my physical time and effort weeding when I'm just going to dig it all up and earth it up on the potatoes. So it looks a mess now, but it won't for long. The comfrey growing nicely in this irrigation ditch, and my fig just there is looking rather good. Moving on up, as the song says. I think the blossom this year, not just on my allotment but everywhere, it's the best year for blossom I can remember. It's stunning. A lovely cultivated dock underneath the apple tree. Another bed of main crop potatoes. Nothing showing on the ground yet, but it won't be long now. This bed I'm leaving for my pumpkins or butternuts. There's something growing under there. I have no idea what that is. It might be a volunteer potato, thinking about it. I grew potatoes in this bed last year. Who knows? I'm not going to look. And I'll leave the sheet on, and I'll just grow the pumpkins down that edge. I'll move the sheet out of the way, put them in there. Makes it easier to water them in a line, and then they can grow across this plastic. Rhubarb looking fantastic. We had a rhubarb crumble for dinner last weekend, and we're having another one this weekend. Make hay while the sun shines, as they say. So I'll just pause by these step overs. They're looking fantastic, and at some point I've got to pick 2 of the more well placed growths to train as the horizontals on the step overs. The one I cut late here, there is just signs now of buds breaking. Good news. Onto the plot main. Mostly onions along here, spring planted. They're looking alright. They're not really moving much, but I guess they're putting their roots in at the moment. One of the big things that's happened since you were last on the plot is all the peas have gone in. Pea alderman grows up to 6, 7, sometimes 8 feet high. A row either side of all these 3 pieces of Harris fencing. They look attractive. I do love the way they look. And the third piece over there with 2 rows is sharing the bed with some onions. More of that in a second. The strawberries look good, very happy with them. Lots of flowers. This step over looks great, and I don't want to tempt fate, but it does look like I'm going to get some apples. We shall see. Another bed of potato over there, more strawberries, lots of tubs of salad potatoes lining the main path up between the two plots. I've weeded this here. This is another one that's going to have the squash or the butternut. A rare thing at the moment, an empty bed. My neighbour has made some inroads. He doesn't dig, he doesn't do physical work, so quite how he's going to turn any of that into productive ground, I wait to see. I do find it fascinating. I shouldn't, I know, but I can't help who I am. Broad beans, they're setting the pods. There's tiny little pods now where the flowers drop off. It's good to see. And over there, two beds this week that have been planted up with the brassicas. They are the ones with the big stakes. You won't be surprised to hear are my Brussels sprouts, always the same one, crispus, club root resistant, and then the bed beyond it with the smaller mesh, that is almost a complete bed of Romanesco cauliflowers. They've been very successful from last year. They freeze well. So this is the fruit bed, pretty ugly. This is partly ugly. There's blooming couch grass. That one gooseberry there, which is obviously planted with couch grass roots in the root ball, and it proliferates. So I don't like doing it. I've hoed the bed yesterday or Friday or Thursday. Hoed it over so the grass and the weeds are all dying off. But I think for that one and around the base of the plants, I'm going to have to get on my hands and knees and dig out that couch grass as much as I can with a hand trowel. I don't like doing it. It's monotonous. More of the good. This peony, forgot what it was for a minute. The peony, we bought it last summer, put it in a pot in the back garden, and we got one beautiful flower on it, which is perfectly fine. You know, first year, that's what you'd expect. But I've counted at least 5 fat buds on it, so it's going to really perform well. It's not even a year old yet, so very happy with the way it's going. And of course that was put in a pot with a view to the move that may or may not happen. Anyway, I'm not going to speak more about that because it depresses the hell out of me. Right, on the bad. I was watering this bed this morning and I saw the first signs of what is inevitable. The onions are bolting, and the more you look, the more you see, and I'm going to guess that's because of the extremely dry spring we've had. Can't be helped. There's nothing I can do about it. They've had a good drink today, and those that bolt we'll chop up and we'll freeze. The asparagus bed, that is a real success story this year. We've had, I don't know, half a dozen pickings from it. And I have to declare that last weekend, before Charlotte and Carl arrived, I did a cooked breakfast, including asparagus. I'm extremely proud of that event. Cheryl nearly fell off her chair, and she had to declare it was very nice. But that was all down to the asparagus and a recipe I saw in one of the kitchen garden magazines. Me cooking, who'd have thought it? I mean, when I say cooking, it was more like heating up, but you know what I mean. Anyway, on up. Right, these are the sweet peas, my own seed, saved from my sweet peas last year. A few more brassicas to go in. I was able to leave them out because the cabbage whites are not about yet. And then some more spring onion and some spinach. Not quite sure where I'm going to put the spinach. Anyway, this is my own saved garlic. And the garlic that we bought at the Malvern autumn show back in, was it September? Anyway, up around here I've got a few lettuce in a pot, spring onions in there, and one of the spring onions has bolted. I've never seen that before. The kiwi plant looks stunning, but again, no flowers. It doesn't, you know, it's completely barren with regard to any possibility of fruit. And this is where the sweet peas are going, on this obelisk. I won this obelisk when I won the Passionate Plotter competition in Kitchen Garden magazine a few years ago. I think it was it 2017? It's a lifetime ago now. The pond's looking fantastic. It's filled up a bit this week thanks to the night of heavy rain we had. Marsh marigolds look lovely. So I have to say, if I put the move that isn't a move to one side, my allotment is looking fantastic this beautiful spring. I'm very proud of it. I'm very pleased with it. It's going well, but there's more work to do. Well, this is what I mean about moving stuff up onto the plot. It's a bit of a funny story actually. I'll mention it in a second, but I've been buying dahlias this spring from the garden centres. We visited Charles Dowding's garden back in September, open day. I recommend it to everybody. Absolutely wonderful garden, and he uses a lot of dahlias in amongst the vegetables. He has little dedicated flower beds in amongst the vegetables, and it completely beautifies the whole affair. Now, Cheryl and I love dahlias. We've got a lot in the garden. So I bought some tubers and laid them out flat in these mushroom trays, put some compost in, and I've watered them a little bit, and they've all kick-started. It's been quite successful. I'm not very lucky with dahlia tubers usually, but this method of laying them out flat in shallow trays rather than putting them in pots seems to have worked. Another tray of brassicas. What are these? There's 3 kiloton cabbages there. Oh, and the rest are broccoli. Anyway, the funny story, well, it's not that funny. These are sunflowers. We visited Charlotte and Carl a few weeks ago, and she had some beautiful sunflowers in a pot on the windowsill in the dining room, and I clocked them and I thought, oh, she likes sunflowers. I'll grow some for the new garden, and then she can walk down the garden and pick the sunflowers and put them in a pot in the new bungalow. And then we were talking another weekend, and she says, oh, I can't stand sunflowers, but we did go to this sunflower farm and I felt duty bound and obliged to buy some, but yeah, I don't like them. So I kept my mouth shut and thought, oh, bugger. Anyway, I'm growing them now, so, you know, I mean, I'm guessing they'll end up going in the ground here at the allotment, and I'll take them home, but Cheryl doesn't like them either. Oh dear, Martin, you dipstick. Anyway, I love them, so maybe I'll have to bring a vase up here and leave them on, or I can just leave them on the plot, can't I? So that's the silly story about the sunflowers. That's me thinking I was being clever, and I wasn't, which is not unusual. But anyway, for the main job, the priority is obviously the brassicas, so I can get them in the ground and get the enviromesh over them before the cabbage whites visit my plot. So that's 9 clubroot resistant broccoli or calabrese called Monclano, and then 3 kiloton clubroot resistant cabbages. And then there's more room, but I've got a second sowing of broccoli going on at home, so there's room there to put more in as they get big enough. And of course, as I've mentioned many times before, this whole site has clubroot, so I only grow clubroot resistant brassicas. But how do I do it? It's my method, and I have to say, touching wood, this is about the 8th year I've done this, and it's worked every time. I've never lost a single brassica. So of course the first thing when you've got clubroot is only grow clubroot resistant varieties. That's not rocket science, is it? But here's how I plant them. So lay them out first of all on the ground so you've got the spacings right, and of course the wider they are spaced, the larger they'll be. So if you only want small brassicas, if there's only 1 or 2 of you in the household, then perhaps the spacing should be less. And brassicas like the ground to be well compacted, so step over and stamp the ground beforehand, just to firm it up a bit. A handful of garden lime. I have a box in the shed behind me. Just release the roots and then plant it nice and deep. I always tend to crunch up the soil because it's very heavy and claggy on this site, so that it's fine around each individual plant. And then once that hole, the planting hole has been limed, firm it in with my fingers well, get it nice and deep in the ground, and that's it, nice and simple. When I finish the whole bed, I'll come back to you and show you what it looks like. Job done. So that's all my current broccoli, cabbage, cauliflower and Brussels sprouts, all planted and environmeshed. So bring on the cabbage white, I'm ready for you. And the little blighters always find a way in. Right, I'm going to plant up these dahlias. Way of life, 1 metre high. Never heard of that one before. Got some nice roots developing. Never tire of seeing the green shoots of new growth. Because dahlias aren't cheap in a garden centre, so if you buy one and it doesn't sprout, you know, you've lost your money. I suppose you could keep your receipt and take it back. I've never tried that. Anyway, there we are. Way of life, 1 metre high. It's important to know how high it's going to grow. It won't grow that high in its first year. It'll take a couple of years to reach that height, because then you know how high to put the supports. Because if you don't support a dahlia, it'll flop. Right, I'm going to water that, put it under some glass, and it's good to go. Those of you who have been with me for a year or more will know that about a year ago I introduced you to the concept, or maybe I didn't introduce you to it, but I mentioned that I'm doing it, and that is humanure. I won't be indelicate, hopefully, but I have a composting toilet in my shed. You know, I'm up here, certainly at the weekend, I'm up here for 7-8 hours or more. And, you know, occasionally you need the toilet. Now, I don't know what everybody else does here, but I use my urine. It goes onto my compost heaps. And I save my solid waste. I have sawdust. I get sawdust from the farmer I work for when he does his wood processing. And once you've done your business in the toilet, you cover it with sawdust from a little dish that I keep next to it. There's no smell, there's no mess, there's no water involved. So, you know, at home this would be a fantastic idea. I've never tried to get it past Cheryl because there are some battles, you know, you just can't win. But why more of us aren't doing this, I don't know. Now, from the research I did, what I was told, because it's in these buckets sit in the wooden box, and it's got a conventional toilet seat on it. I do have videos where I showed you I was making it. Anyway, this is labelled as filled in April 2024. And the research I did, this one particular American farmer said that a year after you filled it, you put the lid on, and a year later you open up the lid and inside you've got this beautiful crumbly soil. Well, I'm not going to subject you to that, but I have already looked in here and I do not have beautiful crumbly soil. What I have is sawdust with a few indescribable, or yeah, you can't tell it's human waste, but it has not broken down into what I would call soil. So I'll say no more, but I'm not saying it hasn't worked, but what I think I have to do is when I eventually, and just like with the greenhouse, I'm going to give it another 2 weeks, and if nothing's happened with the house, I'm going to start building the new compost heaps here, because I'm fed up with the whole process. And I can't just keep leaving that wood on somebody else's plot, and my compost heaps are just about falling apart now. And there's no sign of a house move, so I can't live like this. I need to, one way or the other. So what I will do is I will leave one empty bay, and the humanure will go into that, and I will mix in with it some conventional compost as I produce it on the plot, and hopefully and I will leave it another year, and we'll see. And this will never go on my vegetable beds. This will go as a mulch on top of the fruit trees if and when it becomes what looks like usable compost. Anyway, I thought I would update you. It hasn't worked completely, but I'm optimistic that if I leave it another year, maybe I can do something with it. These are my parsnip tubs. There's 4 of them here. I've got a couple more down the bottom end. One of the skills you learn once you've had an allotment a few years is seed identification. So even with all those weed seeds that are germinating at the same time as the parsnips, I can tell that that's a parsnip, that's a parsnip, that's a parsnip, that's a parsnip, etc., etc. And they're all coming up sort of equidistant apart. And so once they develop their first true leaf, and I've confirmed which ones are which, even though I know, then I will hand weed each of these tubs to eliminate the competition from the parsnips. And these are all javelin. I bought another packet of javelin yesterday at the garden centre because I need a few more. And apparently javelin are quite good at being canker resistant. I've always had a problem with canker on my parsnips, to some lesser or more degree. Interestingly, my wife and I went to a local garden centre in South Wales yesterday and bumped into Danny from the Grow Up channel, and a couple of friends. It was lovely to meet him. Odd that I only met him on my plot a few weeks ago, and then I bump into him in a garden centre. So that was nice. Yeah, so seed identification. I never have much luck with radish. They're either eaten by the slugs or they don't develop. And of course it's easier to grow them at the beginning and at the end of the season. But I might get a few out of this bed. It's looking promising. Well, it's mid-afternoon. It's a beautiful day. There's quite a few people up here again. That's becoming a real routine now, which is lovely. Been over to speak to a few of them. And a good day, really productive. I'm really pleased with the way the plot's looking. It always fascinates me when I watch other YouTubers or I go around the site, how everyone does it differently. I guess you could identify me as an old soldier when you look at the straight lines and the ranks of beds, and but I'm very happy with the way it looks. It pleases my eye, and that's great, but it's no good if it's not productive. But picked some asparagus and some rhubarb. Pleased with that. They're both for tea tonight. And it's all going well. So, yeah, again, you know, life's a bit mad at the moment. I'll be glad when the whole thing's over, whichever way it goes. I just want an answer. But I should be around next weekend, I think. This week is going to be glorious weather, very hot, very sunny, wall-to-wall sunshine, clear blue skies. That'll be great. I may be able to get up here a few afternoons, and I imagine a lot of that I'll spend watering. But right now, it's going very well. I'm very happy. So thank you to all those who've joined me for the whole episode today. If you've subscribed, I appreciate it. If you haven't, think about it. Give me a thumbs up, thumbs down, and leave a comment. And I'll see you next weekend with a bit of luck. Until then, I hope your gardens and allotments are going well. Look after yourselves, take care, and bye for now.